everyone, welcome to CFC Fan TV. This is my post-match review where Chelsea have just lost against Man City 1-0. I don't know what to say. I feel so... I'm not shocked if that's any consolation to anyone. I think we all know how fantastic Man City are. I guess I'm sad because, yes, it's another 3 points dropped. I mean, yeah, it's not like we're playing against Southampton or someone in the bottom of the table, but we clearly have issues. I'll go through, before I even talk about that, I'll go through Conte's post-match conference in a minute, now. He looks unhappy. He looks as if, I know it's no secret that he obviously doesn't really get along with, he doesn't really agree with some of the things the board are doing and the players that have come in, and I empathise with him on that. I completely agree. I think we could have had far better signings this season, and I think the story of our season has been our £70 million striker has not lived up to our expectation, and therefore we've had a major problem. Because we've never had a problem with midfielders, really. I mean, we've got the likes of Willian, Pedro, Hazard. We've got some of the best out there. But what happens is when you rely too much on those, you do need a top-class striker also to take some of the pressure, to take some of the weight off of them so they can do what they need to do. And we didn't even play with the striker today. I think Conte is... I mean, Jamie Redknapp just said then that he thinks that Conte is just trying to send a message to the board in terms of, look what I've got to work with. There's not a lot here. And I understand why I didn't start with Morata. I actually came round to the idea and said, I'm happy for Morata to start. And this be sort of his, I wouldn't say last chance at the club, but just last chance to start a full, to play a full 90 minutes, to start a game. And Conte didn't even trust him enough to do that. And I understand why not, because against Manchester United, he did it. He played him and he made no impact. Okay, fine, he had a disallowed goal at the end, but I think me and a lot of fans could see that he just wasn't up to the mark. But to not play Giroud, the thing is with Man City, and the pundits made a good point then, is that when Liverpool won against City, they got into them, they attacked them, and that to me is what you should be doing. Why? I don't think we had one shot on target today. That's horrendous, and that could only come from not having a proper forward, and it's so clear to me. And I feel sorry for Conte, because I feel like he's in a position where he feels hard done by because he didn't get the players he wanted, and therefore he's not able to rotate the final third part of the field the way he would like to. And I completely and utterly understand where he's coming from, but it's quite impossible to explain how I feel, because to me, like I say, all our problems are so obvious and could so easily have been resolved in both transfer windows. I will say I don't know why you wouldn't start with Giroud. Again, I think it's Conte's preference, who he thinks is up to the plate, who can handle the pressure in a huge game like this. But what other option do we have? Playing Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard is best out wide. That's how I feel. I think he works better with the striker in front of him, and I always will think that way. I think it only works in certain circumstances, but it's not something to be used all the time. It's not a first resort, if you know what I mean. So for us today, looking at that game, it's a clear highlight of everything that goes wrong for us this season, and I don't know what to say other than it's not a humiliating defeat at 1-0. I mean, Arsenal have suffered, 2-3-0 losses against them this season in two different competitions, and I think it's incredibly hard, and I think it would be wrong for me to say that I thought we would ever keep a clean sheet up there. That's not what I thought, but this whole game highlights the fact that we don't have a forward at the moment, and the fact that it's gone this way from Morata, the fact that it's reached this stage, it's actually quite severe if you think about it, because we have a manager who doesn't now even want to play a striker. Well, I don't know what else to say. We repeat the same things every week, and these things are could have been easily rectifiable in both transfer windows. I would have liked to see Giroud fixture, like I said, but it doesn't highlight the fact that you can't. I think this game, especially, I would have just gone for it. Even if it was a 4-3 win, we'd have conceded 3 goals, it would still have been a win. If that meant that we were attacking and going forward and making those runs and really getting into them, I would much prefer that. And I'm sure a lot of you fans would as well. Comment below and let me know what you think of today's performance. But it's not a surprise to me. It's not a surprise to me. And it, like I say, these games highlight the sort of problems. Like I said, against Manchester United, it highlighted a huge problem for me. We don't have a striker at the moment. We don't have a striker that Conte wants to use. I think Giroud deserves more of a chance, if I'm being honest. I think that's now it's got to be the way forward. That's got to be the way. I mean, what else? What's the other? Somebody else tell me what the alternative is, because we now know that playing Hazard up front all the time doesn't really work necessarily. I think it's a last resort. I think it's a good resort if you're playing against another side, bottom half of the table. But I think once you get into the top six, that's sort of not going to work for you. Yeah, and there's just a huge difference. I think that City obviously in the league of their own this season. There's no doubt about it. And full credit to them because they fully deserve to be champions in a few weeks' time. But it's for me, it's not the defeat that hurts me the most. It's the fact that our overall play this season, everything that's happened, has more or less it's more or less obvious to me. And I don't really know what Conte has to say to the board. I mean, some people may feel like he's making a statement when he makes these decisions, and by no means do I want a manager to pick a team that he knows isn't the strongest. But I do feel like Conte hasn't been listened to for the majority of the season. Signings he's wanted, players he's wanted to come in. I think it's very brave of a manager to make a decision like saying to Diego Costa, you're not in my plans. And do I think the way he went about it was right? No. But do I understand that it could be quite stressful for a manager to have a striker that 1 year wants to leave and go back to his home club the next minute he wants to stay? Yeah, of course. And I think we tried to rectify that by bringing in Morata. And like I say, it's just a signing that's gone terribly wrong for me because he didn't start the game today. So you guys, let me know what you think. I feel a little bit down. I know by tomorrow I'll be able to give a better analysis because I'll be, it's always a bit difficult straight after a game's finished. But like I say, this is a problem that I don't think is going away anytime soon. I am going to Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time. I do hope that game we turn up for it. You can only hope in these games that all the players turn up for these huge games and these huge, and we just try our best, and that's all you can hope for. And it's sort of, I think in these games, that does come down a lot to who wants it more. But at the same time, we've got to see from our players some form, that there has to be that crown level. And I do worry, if I'm being honest, about Conte's job in the next few weeks. I think losing against Man City isn't necessarily going to cost him it, but I think you can tell that, and I watched his interview then, and he doesn't know what to say. He's mad. I think deep down I think it's seriously affecting him. I think he's annoyed with the way it's gone. I think he probably feels like he did so much work last season, working with a team that probably that weren't meant to win the league. And he turned them into a champion sides, you know what I mean? He turned us into champions, into winners. And for him to do that, I feel like he probably felt like he was owed some signings that he wanted to get in the summer to build another team and start, the next year or two, bringing back the trophy, and keeping the trophy at Stamford Bridge. And that hasn't happened for him. And I think you can tell that all over his face. And it would be silly for us not to empathise with the fact that that's had a major effect on our entire season. I do think he's made a couple of bad substitutions in the last few weeks. I think that's only now down to he doesn't know what the best team is, who to pick. Does he play Morata out? Does he give him a chance? Does he not? And yeah, like I say, I don't want to reflect too much on the game and the problems that happened in the game, whether Alonso defended well or vice versa, because it's sort of irrelevant in the fact that for me, these games, like I say, highlight what goes wrong. And it's just a massive shame for me that our season's going this way because it has the potential to be so good. But unless we figure out what our first starting 11 is, unless we figure out a way to work without Morata being on form, it proves very difficult. And yeah, I'm interested to see what you guys think. Comment below any points in the game that you think are worth mentioning. But yeah, like I said, I'm just a little bit upset about the whole thing at the moment, because it's just a little bit, you know, you don't want to see your team losing twice a week, 3 times a week. You just don't want to see it happen. Anyway, comment below, what do you guys think? And me and Rory, or whoever's in the studio tour, will be doing a full review on the game and see if we can sort of highlight, you know, what can be done better, because I'm running out of ideas now. I really am, and I'm sure Conte is as well. So yeah, comment below. Like this video, which I'm sure is not the best video I've ever done, is it's pretty depressing. If you like these sorts of videos, please subscribe, and hopefully come next week we're talking about a better game than this one, Conte Blues.